This is Vince Russo's The Brand.
Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Tragedy. I am your co-host, JP John Paz. Of course, with me as well is the golden voice, Piers Austin, and of course, the Kingpin from ECW, Angel Medina. What's going on, fellas? How you doing today?
I am great, man. I am great. What an intro. What an intro. Seriously, like that. John has got some serious pipes, man. That was awesome, man. I'm doing very well, man. Very well. Looking forward to covering off this topic with you boys today. Just got back from debuting as a commentator on a show here in Australia. So, yeah, man, a lot of great times and good fun had. So, yeah.
Dude, John Paul's voice, bro, is like, it's like, you ever listen to the show called No Sleep Radio? You are watching No Sleep Radio, where demons come out. This guy's voice is just so silky, and that's what you should do voiceovers. Skittles.
Yes. What is that weird thing that people like now, where it's like just the voice, MSR or something, where it's like very monotone. It like helps people go to sleep. It's like forget, they have like a term for it, but it's like just like basically you could just hear it deeply in your ears. I don't know. It's a weird.
I forgot what to call. I know what you mean.
Something like that. Yeah.
In Australia, we had a radio host. I can't remember his name, but it used to be love song dedications, and it would just come as like, "Hello and welcome, it's love song dedications," and people would take the fucking piss. Like guys would ring up and go, "Yeah, I just want to, just give a special shout out to my special person. G'day, Barry. I love you, mate." And like you could tell, like they're starting to take the piss. How about we get Barry on the phone? And like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
we have that here called oh my god, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Slow jam or something. What are they?
Slow
called?
jam, yeah, that's it.
I've
Slow
heard that.
jam, and they're like, yeah, this is slow jam radio. You're listening to, I mean, but that's the gimmick, man. When you do shows like that, that's just part of the. I guess you fall into that tone when you're in like slow jams. You know?
Like Brian McKnight, his greatest hits, slow jam.
There you go.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty excited today. I mean, John is a huge mark for Andy Kaufman. I can't really put him over. He's okay for the wrestling part, but I just never saw his comedy as to me. I just never got it. But before we go any further, Piers is supposed to just chime in and say, hey, before we do anything, let's get with these sponsors out the way.
Well, let's get with the sponsors and get that out of the way. First up is Sleeves.com. I'm sorry, Angel. I'll let you take this one.
Sleeves.com. If you're an athlete and you definitely want to get your sports accessories needs fixed, definitely check out Sleeves.com, man. If you're on the rugby field, football field, soccer field, or even on the baseball field, they have everything that you need to support your skills on the gridiron or any place else. They also got the dirty boxes that are my favorite thing. I did see something online. They have a Black Friday sale, so definitely jump on it. They definitely are giving away a lot of good stuff. Use MWA promo code MWA Pod for 10% off, and Wrestling with Tragedy sent you.
Next up is healthvape.com. Healthvape.com is your healthy vaping alternative, guys. All of their products are no nicotine, no addictive or harmful chemicals, and they're vitamin infused. So, guys, go and check out some of their vape and pod products. Use promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Guys, now let's get into this case number 83, Andy Kaufman. Now, Andy Kaufman was, one of the most unique individuals in comedy, in my opinion. I think that, and we were talking about this before we started recording, you either get it or you don't with Andy Kaufman. It's not like, yeah, he's okay. It's like, he's either great or I never got it.
Basically, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, if you don't get his comedy or you don't get what he's doing, I mean, you're not going to like it. It's like Norm Macdonald almost. It's like you might love him or you might hate him. There's going to be no in between. You're going to get it or you're not going to get it. I know
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of comedians that are so famous that I like political comedians. I forgot two guys. One smokes a cigar. I forgot his name, and it's something black. He's a comedian.
Louis Black.
Lewis Black, thank you. He's a comedian. I just never got it. I mean, I'll watch it and try to see if I could just like laugh a couple times, but it's just never. I just never see the humor in it. Again, talented guy, it doesn't resonate with me. It happens. I mean, Pierce's commentary doesn't resonate with me, but people like him.
Wow. Thank you very much for that, Dick. But I think Andy Kaufman though, like he was a very unique individual, and I think from the aspects that we saw of his professional wrestling, like coming in at the time, and we're going to get into it, but I just wanted to make this point: intergender wrestling didn't exist really until Andy Kaufman came in and sort of made it a thing. And, like that was at a time where it was like kayfabe was alive and well. And a lot of people in the audiences, didn't know it was a work. And you know what I mean? Like he fell in love with the business because of the theatrics about it and because of kayfabe and like, pulling the wool over people's eyes.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Kaufman. The funny thing, I think Jimmy Hart. He was like good friends with Jimmy Hart. Like, if and that's how he got his foot in the door. And it's just funny, man. He lived the gimmick of Andy Kaufman. Tony Clifton. Like he used to show up to shows in gimmick and, hey, Andy, what are you calling Andy? I'm Tony Clifton, and like really work the angle and like, dude, there's nobody here but us. You don't have to pretend. Nobody's pretending. I'm Tony Clifton, and that's something that's just extremely like to me like okay, you working me, in a wrestler's mind says like, are you working me, dude? But he was a creative individual. Like I said, he was talented. He stood out, and then he took that craziness of who he was and put it in the wrestling world, because the wrestling world is crazy and that type of character fits in that mold. So that's why he became so successful and so well hated.
I think as well, like he was someone who was really basically for the wrestling business. You know what I mean? Like, and you mentioned the Tony Clifton gimmick. You know what I mean? And like some of the other gimmicks that he's had, he was really dedicated to his performance. Even so, like, I remember, the movie Man on the Moon with Jim Carrey. Yeah, so Jim Carrey, he would actually be on set, and if someone called him Jim, he would go, "No, you call me Andy." Like he insisted on being called Andy. Like he used the same methodology.
Yep.
That's called method acting.
Yes.
Live the gimmick.
Yep.
Well, you know what? Like that's the thing. You get the best. Like how good is the performance?
It's basically kind of the same thing from the guy Lincoln from the actor Lincoln from The Walking Dead when he does, Grimes' voice, because he's English, but when he's on set, he talks like Rick Grimes. I mean, he stays in character all through on set because I don't know if it breaks his focus or something, but he maintains that character through the whole set. It's method acting, man. I mean, I give it to people who could do that,
And when he used to do that intergender wrestling, I mean, that was so freaking funny. He'd
have
like
innovating.
he would just have random women. And he'd be like, "I'm the intergender champion," and he was really just playing a heel. If you think about it, I mean, he was just being a bad guy, saying, "I could beat up these women. I could beat up your toughest woman." And everyone, especially back then in the early '80s and late '70s, like, "Wait, what? You're going to beat up women? Like, what are you saying?" He said, "I'm the intergender champion," and he'd have the belt and everything. I mean, just so funny. I just thought it was so innovative because it's like, is this guy like trying to get booed? And you realize, like, okay, he's a huge wrestling fan. He's basically trying to be like classy Freddie Blas. He's trying, who he's a huge fan of. He's just trying to be a heel. He was awesome at it.
He was also the Hollywood, basically, because he was like Mr. Hollywood. He was calling himself like, he basically was the Hollywood Hulk Hogan. I'm from Hollywood, and I should be treated with the utmost respect, and you should grovel at my feet and stuff. So he worked the gimmick really well, man. I mean, that's the thing about Andy Kaufman that I liked, because it was like, it's just people just wanted to see his ass get kicked, and every time he beat a woman, it was just people just got more upset. And it, I think it was one of the greatest angles, during that time for a guy who was not an actual pro wrestler. He even worked the pile driver gimmick when Jerry Lawler hit him, and he really worked that all the way to the fucking ambulance.
Yeah.
And he
went to the hospital. Yeah.
He worked the whole gimmick, man. That's the thing. He really loved the business.
Wore that awesome neck brace. Everyone remember?
Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
Dude, I saw
Like,
that in WWE thing. Sorry, Pierce. I was just gonna mention
No.
with the wrestling treasures or whatever is on A&E. They looked for the Andy Kaufman neck brace and got it from fucking Bill
Billy Apter.
Apter.
Yep.
Yeah, and he had it in his collection, and they took it and stuff. So, and they said it was worth like, please don't quote me. I could be wrong, but I think $10,000, $12,000. That was considered the net worth for that fucking neck. It was just a regular neck brace. It's
But
just
Andy
weird.
Kaufman wore it though.
Yeah.
And
ahead,
Apter was
Pierce.
really like the key to getting him in the business.
Mhm.
He was friends with a bunch of the wrestlers, but Apter helped him. And he was trying to get him into the WWF, really with Vince McMahon Sr., and Vince McMahon Sr. had no interest for whatever stupid reason. I mean, he probably lived to regret that just because of how well it went down. So
Well,
then he's like, well, I have a good friend named Jerry Lawler in Memphis. Maybe you want to go to Memphis. So then he ended up in Memphis.
Well, technically, Vince McMahon Sr. did, live to regret it because he passed away.
Yeah, not that long after that. Yeah,
but also Vince McMahon Sr. was the same guy that told Hulk Hogan, if you go to Rocky 3, you're done in this territory.
And also, Vince Sr. was also against, when Vince Jr. was trying to take over other territories, his dad frowned upon it. So, 3 out of 3, I'm not saying he wasn't smart. I'm just saying, like, sometimes you have to. It's scary, but sometimes to make money, you got to spend money philosophy. Sometimes you have to take the risk, and sometimes there's a lot of reward, but then there's a lot of disappointment when you put your whole, life into it, and then you fell at it. But Vince Jr. took it to the next level. But anyway, Piers, you was gonna say?
Yeah, man. Kaufman was actually made a pretty interesting statement once where he said he wasn't a comedian at all because comedians told jokes. And Kaufman argued that he didn't, preferring to classify himself as an entertainer. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like, I think with certain things with Kaufman, like in his act, and even like the intergender and the professional wrestling sort of thing, he's kind of like one of those people that were before his time. You know what I mean? They were, ahead of his time. So, like, if he was sort of out in like, the 90s, he would have been huge.
I wanna think what kind of comedian was he? Like you said, he didn't tell jokes. He did more of almost like Carrot Top. Remember Carrot Top just did props and
storytelling.
Yeah, there's a word for it, like it will pop out at me. But that's it. He just did stupid shit. Like, I just never got the one when he's on stage and he did the farmer gimmick, like the pig went oink, the cow went moo, and he did the whole fucking show doing that. And I'm like, people just laughing their ass off, and I'm just like, I don't get it. See, that's the thing. I just didn't see the humor in him just coming on stage doing that. But it went over, man. It just went over big time with other people,
He definitely never told jokes, which is why he says not a comedian, but it's like a different kind of comedy. True. I mean, he's entertaining and stuff, but he's just so funny. He would do shows, and he was doing stand-up comedy, but he doesn't say he's a stand-up comic, even though he does stand-up comedy. So that's a funny thing too. But he has done shows before where he literally is trying to get everyone to leave. And I was like, that is so funny and so genius, but I could see people hating him for it. Because literally he would be horrible, and then people would get up and start walking out, and he'd be like, okay, there's 2 people gone. Like, he would literally have 100 people in the audience. His goal was for everyone to walk out on him. Why? I don't know. That's some sort of special genius, but eventually he got everyone to walk out because oh, this guy sucks. He's terrible. But in his mind, he was trying to get them almost like a heel. Like, I'm trying to get them to hate me and get them to leave. I was like, wow, that is so genius. But then on another level, why? Why? What was the point behind that? But it's just so funny. He was literally trying to get people to boo him and walk out. And then he would start arguing with them, fuck you, and they would argue with him, I'm out of here, you're a piece of shit. Like what the hell? What just happened? He wanted to leave him questioning, is that guy nuts? What did he lose his mind out there? But the whole thing was that he wanted them to walk out on him. It was strange, but then you look at very special type of genius.
I think special kind of genius is one way to put it, but could it have been more self-worth issue as well? Let's talk mental health. The sort of person that we sort of see how he was perceived to be, in this day and age, 2021, someone like that would be heavily medicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or was it
You
one
know,
of those things where it's like he thinks he can control the audience? Like, watch, like maybe him and Bob Zamuda, his like partner, were like,
Mm.
watch, like maybe like I'll get them to leave. They're like, come on, no, you won't. Like, and maybe one of those like he could almost like Vince McMahon's like, I'm gonna control the fans. You're gonna like what I like. Like he
Mhm.
maybe he's thinking to himself, I'm gonna get them to leave. I'm gonna get them to hate me. Like maybe that was a control thing. Maybe he's trying to control the audience. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it's true. It's true, man. I mean, he was just one of those guys that pushed the envelope, man. I mean, look at the situation in him and Lawler in the Letterman show, you know, and where he got the shit slapped out of him.
Yeah.
You know, he really pushed the envelope, man, and he really wanted to get hit. He really wanted to bleed. You know, what I mean, like get the taste slapped out of his mouth. And to this day, I mean, no matter how many years later you watch it, you still like, you just wait for it because you know the slap is coming, and it's just, and then you see like Letterman, like not really knowing if it's a work or if
Yeah,
it's a
that's the thing.
legit,
They didn't clue him
Yeah.
in. Yeah.
and that was the best part, and that's the thing that made it a classic.
And that's the thing. I think if like that moment wasn't the genuine reaction from Letterman, then it would have just been a joke. You know what I mean? I think by not cluing him in was the best thing. And I think that it was only like Lawler and Kaufman that were really smartened up to it.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, he comes back out, and Letterman's like even more shocked. Like, now this guy's back at him. He's like, "Fuck you, Lawler! You're a piece of shit." And Letterman's like, "What? I'm losing control of my show." And they're gonna have to bleep it. And like, you
Yeah,
can tell
yeah, yeah.
Letterman's like totally flustered. He's like, "What is going on?" He thought it was real, which is awesome.
Man, dude, when you can work that many people like they did, and even like the neck injury, like I heard like Kaufman laid, like he insisted, he's like, get me a stretcher.
Yeah, that's what we were talking
Good.
originally. Yeah, absolutely. He
Yeah,
worked
like-
it to the hilt, you know.
You know what I mean?
I
But
can't feel
like
my
just
legs. He was saying all that shit. Yeah.
that fucking detail of it for him to do that is just like,
But the thing is, he never clued anybody in on what he was going to do. And
Yep.
that's what was the shocker, because people thought when he got power driver, you know, typical when you get power drivers, you get up and do the Hogan thing and you know, get
Sell
carried
it,
out. He really like didn't clue nobody in. So when he did shit like that, you know, it's like, yo, this motherfucker's not moving, and he was supposed to get out the ring. You know, even if they say, hey, when he hits you with the power driver, work it a little bit, and then just get up and you know, if it's Jimmy Hart, I'll help you out the ring and get you back to the curtain. No, he just like, okay, I'm gonna take it to the left, and you know, and shock everybody and stuff.
And you really thought him and Lawler hated each other, but it's great because Lawler reveals, many, many years later, finally revealed it when he's doing those awesome promos and he wrestled
Yeah.
that one woman. That's Lawler's backyard. So it's like they like him and Lawler obviously were boys, but we didn't find out 2 years later because he's probably like, oh, he's making fun of rednecks, soap. This is soap, and he gets out the tickle. This is how you use soap, and like just making fun of redneck. So you think like, wow, him and Lawler might not get along, but years later he revealed like that's my backyard, that's my pool. Like, so they definitely had a really good bond and really good friendship. But it's just awesome to think like, man, they were just working everyone. You really thought that those two hated each other.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that I think a lot of the reactions that Jerry Lawler had was legitimately like,
He didn't know
like,
where he was going to go with it.
yeah, so like when he did things, or like when he poked them and you ain't nothing, and you know, it's kind of like if I just came up to you and like, oh yeah, me, Piers, I'm just gonna come to you and just cut a promo on you and say next time I see you in the ring and da 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 da, and you're like, and in your mind says, oh, he's just gonna chip his teeth, and then when I cut my promo, I fucking slap your chin, and you're gonna be like, what the? I didn't expect that, and that's what he did, and you know, mentally, he did things that people didn't expect, and in the expression on their face, kind of like puts a deer in the headlights. Like, but then they snap out of it, like work the gimmick. But at that moment, they're like, we didn't. This wasn't scripted. This wasn't planned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This wasn't part of the deal, bro. Like,
Yeah. That's a great
Yeah.
angle. I have a DVD where they literally go through the whole angle. I think Corey Macklin or whoever owned that footage at that point, who knows like who really owns it, but they literally go through the whole chronological order of the feud and all the promos, him beating up the women, Lawler making the say like they go through the whole. It's so good, so well done. 1982
What-
Memphis is awesome.
What DVD is this? You said 1980. What is it?
Some guy, Corey Macklin, I think I got it from High Spots many, many, many years ago, but he literally put a compilation. It's called Lawler versus Kaufman in Memphis. It's like the whole feud. It's great.
I gotta get that.
Interesting. Yeah,
gotta get
do
that.
they
If
still
you
have
can
it?
find it, yeah, it's awesome.
You can burn it
Oh,
and send it to Piers. Burn it and send it to Piers so you can watch it. Unless you don't have a burner. Oh well, we can't do that. That's against the law. Oh,
yeah, I
sorry.
can't. It's against
Yeah,
the-
we don't do that shit.
Can't do that. Can't do it. Can't do it.
But it's funny, like Kaufman, when he was cast as the foreign man character, Latka.
Taxi, yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny when he signed that contract, he came in with the condition that to come in, but also use the Tony Clifton character.
Yeah,
And
I
that
heard
was,
about that. Yeah.
but what happened is Kaufman turned up in Tony Clifton gimmick and completely sabotaged himself by going in there because like people were like, who the fuck is this Tony Clifton guy? He worked people to thinking like that people didn't even know it was like Andy.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. It was a weird thing, man. Like you say, he showed up to these meetings with fucking hookers and fucking smelling fucking like he's poured a whole bottle of cologne on his fucking pink tuxedo and just really was obnoxious. And then he just fucking I mean, he just done stuff that just didn't make sense to me. Like, you're going to these producers and stuff to try to put this guy over, and then you fucking sabotaging it, and then just put like every minute is money. So when you put the production on hold, it just people were getting mad and more upset. So it just I don't know. I didn't understand what he was doing.
Yeah, he always did stuff like that, like SNL, right? You ever see his
Mhm.
tryout video for SNL?
I think I did, but I can't really remember.
So basically there's a tryout for SNL, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Andy Kaufman, like he's going to be great." He bombs on purpose, and I was like, nobody is going to understand it. Not even like Lorne Michael and SNL, like they didn't understand what he was doing. They're like, "Okay," like they were confused. I go back and watch. It is so I forget where I saw it, but it's so I think it was on YouTube actually. It was so
Yeah.
goddamn funny because like now we know like he's bombing on purpose to make them almost have like a reaction. It's like he wants people to feel awkward and he wants to get this like strange reaction from them. So like he does crazy shit. So who like literally who in their right mind would bomb on SNL? Like this is a huge opportunity. Like SNL, yeah, like he could have given two shits. He bombs on purpose. He's hilarious. They think he stinks. But guess what happens? They bring him back because he's so funny on TV. They bring him back
Yeah.
over and over and over. He probably could have just said, "Guys, I don't want to be a cast member. I just want to be like a special attraction." But nope, he's gonna bomb on purpose, so they can't make him a cast member. And then they bring him back over and over and over as a special guest. So I was like, "Oh man, I've never seen that before." Where like the guy they think stinks, but like, wait, he's hilarious. We got to bring him on the show, but we can't have him as like a guy because he's not funny. Like it's such a weird balancing act. But I love that. Like he bombed his damn thing on purpose. Like so him and Bob Zamuda could have a laugh over it or something. It's like so funny but weird.
But I don't get how. Okay, regardless of what it is, comedy, wrestling, boxing, anything, you're there to make money. I don't think at the time Andy Kaufman was like fucking ridiculously rich.
Right.
So I just don't understand I understand the craft, the art, whatever. But why would you sabotage your career? And which again, he didn't do it because he made one more successful. But the chance that you took to like not say destroy your career, but risk that you're like going to be blackballed in the industry, or say this guy sucks, we don't want him back, and then telephone, telegram, tell a wrestler, the word gets out that you're the drizzling shits, don't use them. That's a fucking really risky thing to do to become the most unique comedian or whatever, to like stand out from everybody else. I just don't I couldn't do it.
Especially in the 80s and the 70s. You know what I mean? Like, but you know what? I think maybe he did a lot of this stuff to pop himself, but I go back to mental health. Like, was this guy the full quid? Was he playing with the full deck? Because as you said, Angel, like why would you sabotage your own career and risk yourself being blackballed?
I really don't know, man. Like I said, that's a riddle wrapped in an enigma.
And I think that's the way he likes it. I think he doesn't want anybody didn't want anybody to kind of figure him out.
And that's the weirdest thing. He just and that's the thing. Even his closest fucking friends that he just did it. They just didn't get it. I mean, I think he even pulled high spots on his own fucking brother. You know, that's the weirdest thing, and that's just something I just don't get. You know.
And sometimes he wouldn't even play Tony Clifton. Sometimes Bob Zamuda would be playing Tony Clifton. So, like, you never knew what was going on with those guys. They're just, they're all over the place. They're crazy. I just love that. Like, who would think of some of this stuff? Like, I'm gonna bomb on purpose tonight, or hey, I got SNL. Lorne Michaels thinks I'm great. I'm gonna bomb. And like, wait, what? Like, why? Like, just watch this. Like, it's something's going on there mentally where it's like he must like think like I'm just gonna laugh at my own joke, I guess. Which it's funny, like you would think would cost him money, but then SNL brings him in over and over again anyway, so it didn't cost him money. But I mean, you got to have supreme confidence in your like wacky comedic nature.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's like I said, he was wacky. He was
Unique.
like he was unique, but it was just it was like I said, it was a fucking roll of the dice, man. It was really something that maybe he saw the vision. I couldn't see the vision. Maybe a lot of people didn't see it, but he had a path that he was taking that he realized like this is where I'm going. This is where I'm going to end. I'm not going to deviate from it, no matter what anybody says. And that's ballsy in the industry, regardless of what industry of entertainment, television, radio, sports is just a very, very ballsy move,
There's
which was
nobody else
successful.
like him though, ever. Like I can't think of anybody else that would purposely like bomb or purposely make himself look bad. Very, very heel like, I guess, in a certain instance, but he would purposely make himself look bad, and you'd be like, "What is up with this guy?" But then you kind of would be more interested in what he was going to do next. So always like, what else is up this guy's sleeve? Like this guy's on Taxi, this guy's wrestling, this guy's doing that awesome Mighty Mouse thing that where here he comes, and he's doing that Mighty Mouse.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
like
that
so
was
funny but
horrible.
nuts. But yeah, see, that's the thing. So people are like, it's so funny, but then you got half the audience going, "This is terrible. What the hell is this nonsense?"
Yeah,
It's sorry, Angel.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, with Andy Kaufman though, like the wrestling side of things, and launching into that, I think he I don't know, like if he would have pursued professional wrestling instead of the comedy aspect of it, do you think he could have been a star in wrestling? Take the acting out of it.
Yes.
Yeah, because he could have been a great manager. He could have been some type of color commentator. I mean, he could have done a lot.
And you could
Could
tell
he?
he understood the business. He liked the business. He was definitely a fan because he understood like how to be a good heel. Obviously, watched Freddie Blassie and guys like that. I mean, he understood the business and how to be a heel, how to be a wrestler. So I think he would have been awesome if he wanted to do that. He would have been great at it.
Yeah, I agree. I think he would have been great for the business. Definitely understood the showmanship aspect of it, and even the storytelling aspect of it. And we even said, he called himself an entertainer, not a comedian, and like that was the aspect of it. He was going to entertain you. As far as like bombing sets to get people to leave the venue, like I don't know, man. Like that just sounds like that's not something a sane person would do. Even if it's like I'll get them to do what I want, like that's pretty nuts.
Well, yeah, that's pretty nuts. I mean, it's just weird how, like even in death, because there was a story that he wanted to fake his own death, and
Yeah.
that to this day it's still a hoax. That he was working in the angle of like, it's just weird. Like people to this day still think like his brother, like, and look, my brother's dead, but still people think he's still roaming around on this earth and he's going to make an appearance one day to say it was just a joke. The biggest joke in history and stuff like that. Did you ever see the picture of Andy Kaufman supposedly still alive, and people still think that he's still like when they say, "Oh, we saw Elvis, he's still breathing, he's still living," that type of shit.
Yeah, because the Tony Clifton character kept on appearing up at places like the Comedy Store.
Yeah, Bob Zamuda would be dressed up as Tony Clifton. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
See, the thing
And
with that is too, like I interviewed Bob Zamuda a few years ago. Awesome interview. He actually holds the record for the longest answer to a question. I think it was 22 or 23 minutes. He literally answered. I asked him something about Memphis, and he went on and on. I was like, "This is awesome. I'm just gonna let him go." He had like the best answer. I think it was literally when he finished it up. It was like a 22-minute answer about Memphis and Andy Kaufman. But he kept saying that Andy Kaufman was still alive, and this is his best friend, who won't believe that his friend died. So I was like, is he in on it, or does he really think Andy's pranking everybody? Even his best friend wasn't even sure. So that's one of the things too. People think because he said he was going to fake his own death. Like, did he really fake his own death? Really deep stuff there. Like his own best friend, and his partner Lynn Margulis is, I guess not really his wife, but they had a kid together. But she was even saying that he might still be alive. It's like, wow, really?
Yeah, I also sent a picture just now to Piers if he'd be able to download it in regards to Andy. The people think this is Andy Kaufman still alive, to this day. Well, I mean, this was an article back in 2013, so it was pretty interesting. So just to show people think they still believe that he's still walking the earth and stuff. I mean, his net worth supposedly was like $3 million, but again, I mean, why walk away from the industry to pull the biggest high spot, at the end of your career? Like, oh, surprise, it was just a joke. 30 years, 40 years later, and like, okay, I know it's the biggest high spot, but all the money he lost, all the,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, but again, he does it for shock value. So to him, it might be worth it if he's still alive, if that's a big if,
Well, David Letterman a couple years ago, remember when he retired from CBS? They asked him, and on the last show, he was talking about,
Yeah, that's
Is that
supposedly, yeah, that's supposedly, but I doubt it to the letter.
I don't know, man.
When David Letterman retired, basically they said, "Who's your favorite guest of all time?" He said, "Honestly," he's like, "I'd have to say Andy Kaufman. He's probably my favorite guest. I just loved having him on the show. You never knew what he was going to do. The Jerry Lawler thing, he was so unpredictable. He was so funny. He got that sense of humor. He loved Andy Kaufman. So when Andy Kaufman retired, or excuse me, when David Letterman retired and he was no longer doing that show, everyone thought that was the big high spot. His favorite guest ever is going to make his surprise return. He's going to shock the world, and that's how Letterman's going to end the show. His favorite guest and him, and he's going to do this huge high spot, and it's going to be Letterman and Kaufman. See you later, CBS, and I'm retiring. Obviously, didn't happen, but Letterman still did a nice little tribute to Andy there. But I even felt for it. I'm like, shit, I got to watch this. Andy Kaufman might show up. He might return.
But think about it like this. I hate when people, and I'm not knocking Letterman, but it's just like, my favorite guest was Andy Kaufman. But at the moment, I bet you he wasn't the favorite guest. He was probably pissed off.
He wasn't he? Like,
yeah, think about Elvis Presley when he appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show and he gyrated his hips, and Ed Sullivan was mad. And then years later, he becomes the king, like the king of kings. And then also, yeah, I was the one that brought him in, and he was the greatest guy, and now you put him over. But at that moment, when you came on that TV and Elvis walked away and you came on and you walked out, you can see his face. He was pissed off, So I think Letterman was upset because he didn't know what he was going to do. But then as years went on, he's like, you know what? If, putting feelings aside, yeah, it was pretty good, man. He really put one over on me. So I say, yeah, he was my favorite guest.
Man, like looking at when Kaufman actually got sick, he had several in 1983 at Thanksgiving. He had several family members, openly express worry about his persistent coughing. And he even claimed that he'd been coughing for a month. Visited the doctor, been told there was nothing wrong. When he returned to Los Angeles, he went to another physician who checked him into a medical center. And run a series of tests. A few days later, he was diagnosed with a large cell carcinoma of the lung, which is typically associated with smoking, which he was a non-smoker except for when he played the Tony Clifton character. But, just because cancer of the lung is, in line with smoking doesn't mean that it necessarily always has to come from smoking.
But what's funny about Andy is that he went to the Philippines to see a psychic healer,
which is fraud, right? I mean, that's not real
100%. No,
yeah,
medical fraud.
And they fucking worked them, you know. I mean, they were using chicken blood and fucking chicken, fucking gizzards and livers, and working the gimmick. And he apparently he saw that it was an angle, and that's the part where he, like all the way down to the Philippines, paid that money to travel to go to see some quack, thinking that you're going to be saved, and all of a sudden you realize it was just a work. High spot.
But that was as a last resort, bro. So I think that was like him clutching at straws at that stage.
No. Hey, I don't knock nobody, dude. God forbid, if something happens to, I mean, anybody, you're gonna try to, man, drink these juices and fucking do juicing and fucking eating vegan and eating grains will help you. I mean, everybody's gonna try to make that attempt. In your back of your mind, you're probably gonna be like, oh, fuck, man, I'm fucking an idiot to try to do this. But that little glimmer of hope, that light at the end of the tunnel, just gives you hope, and stuff. And if somebody told you to stick your finger in your ass and that'll help you cure cancer, you'd be fucking knuckle deep.
Fucking, I'd be double knuckled.
Yeah.
But
he
you know
tried
what?
some like radiation therapy. I guess this was almost like a last resort, but it just fits into like the character of him. Like this guy's going to go to another country to try some crazy holistic, super fake. On the surface seems fake, like medicine practice. Like just fits in with the character. Like what a nut! Like it just seems like that's something he would do. You know what I mean?
I mean, like even then, like people were shocked at his gaunt appearance. Like he would have looked drained, and that was in January '84, so November '83 to January '84. Kaufman acknowledged that he had an unspecified illness that he hoped to cure with natural medicine, including a diet of all fruits and vegetables, among other measures. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty nuts, man, to sit there and go, I'm going to go like fucking, homeopathy and, try and cure cancer with it. Like that's next level of special.
Yeah, it's
Well,
crazy. Crazy.
But I
thought
think he was in
that.
denial. I think he was in denial, to be honest.
But did you ever see the rumor in 2013 about an actress who showed up saying she was Andy Kaufman's daughter, and that she said that he was still alive? I mean, just everybody's working the angle, man. I mean, it's just, once it's laid to rest, then it just resurrects itself with something else.
Did she get called out as a fraud? Like, what was the deal with her?
I really didn't know the whole story in regards to the daughter. I just remember that she came out, in regards to that. But again, that's just a very I don't even know who the bitch's name was.
But let me ask you this, because like I was reading into that and I saw that as well, and the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office re-released Kaufman's death certificate to confirm he was deceased and where he was buried as well. So, like, why would they just randomly go, oh, some actress is saying that she's Kaufman's daughter, we're going to re-release his death certificate? I don't understand how that would come into play.
Crazy. And I know like his last appearance, right? He was on Breakfast with Blassie, and he had a mohawk because he shaved his head he had some radiation done. So he shaved his head to a mohawk, and he played that into a gimmick, and he wouldn't tell anybody. So he definitely beats to his own drummer. Who knows if he told maybe Lynn Margulis and Bob Zamuda that like, hey, no matter what, you just say that I'm still alive. Like, who knows if he was working the angle with them, making sure that they kept up with appearances and saying that he's still alive. Who knows? Or maybe they just don't believe it. Maybe they think they got worked.
Or maybe like even on that he actually really was deceased in 1984, and then he turned around and I want to make sure I work people for the rest of time. Yeah. Am I still alive? Am I dead?
Because he would do it. I mean, he was so crazy, bombing on stage, bombing SNL, playing Tony Clifton, the Lotka thing. I mean, just everything you think like, okay, this is something this guy would do. He would fake his own death. He is that crazy. Like, oh, he's only 35. He's in his prime. There's no way he's really dead, right? So I feel like that is something he would do. Did he really do it? Probably not. But it is something in line with what he would do as a character.
It's... but that's the thing. Someone that crazy, like, surely someone would have someone committed. You know what I mean? Like, or was he a complete work? Was people that knew him well really just like were they working everyone as well? You know what I mean? Like, did people close to him? Was he a normal guy outside of that, and this was his way of becoming famous? This
I'll
is
make you
his way of
famous.
being. This is his way of being, the ultimate entertainer.
Like, I don't know, man. I mean, like I said, Andy Kaufman it would. He was a character, man. The man, it was way beyond people's expectation of what a comedian should be. And also he was outstanding in the wrestling world, that to this day people think that was the greatest angle between him and Jerry Lawler. And he pushed the envelope to make everybody believe that he was intergender champion, that he was the best of the best, and people just believed it. So I mean, I just think that in that world, hands down, Andy Kaufman revolutionized professional wrestling in regards to angles, and I appreciate what he done for the business. But in the comedy world, I don't know. I didn't think it was funny, but in the wrestling world, aces.
Do you
Yeah,
think
I love the comedy and I love the wrestling. I don't know. I'm a huge Andy Kaufman mark. I just love it. Also, just throw out there was a book a few years ago. I know there's a bunch of Andy Kaufman books, but Bob Zmuda and Lynn Margulies, his girlfriend and best friend, they did write a book called Andy Kaufman: The Truth Finally. And it was almost predicated like that he was still alive. So good book, really interesting, and I really enjoyed it. But it's one of those things where, like, they're basically saying he's still alive, but they would know above all that he's really not. So are they a part of the gimmick too? Are they a part of the angle?
what do you think of the movie?
I liked it. It was good, but to me, I liked it because it had my mind was I was more focused on the wrestling part.
Yeah, very sad. The end is really, terribly sad. But
I wonder if that really was true, that they did a video montage of him at the funeral, because sometimes they embellish things in the movie
Yeah.
to make it more what it is. So I was wondering, did he really have a video footage of himself talking? That's just one thing. I'm just wondering if that really happened.
Who knows, man? Like, I think, like, looking at his alleged death and the alleged, like, I think if he was still alive, dude, it's been like nearly 40 years.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like, all right, the cat's out of the bag. I feel like after like maybe 5, maybe 10 years, we would have heard something.
Do you think
if he
maybe
was alive.
mentally some people couldn't get over the fact that he was dead because he's such a genius? This is something he would do. Maybe mentally they just don't want to admit that he died. I don't know. It could be that too, like where they just won't, because that would destroy them. Like, oh my god, it was our best friend, my lover, whatever. Like maybe they just don't want to admit he died because he was such a genius. It's like, no, he can't be dead. No way.
I think some people like to hold on to a little bit of hope. You know what I mean? Like, and I think
Yeah.
that especially people that would have been fans of Andy Kaufman as well, they would sort of get wind of that conspiracy and go, "Oh, imagine if he's still alive. That'd be amazing." He just comes out of nowhere and starts performing again, and everything goes back to 1984 and 1983, and you know what I mean? Like, I think people hold on to those sort of things as almost like a little bit of false hope.
But that's all you have in this world is the hope. If you don't have any hope, that's I mean, that's just what it is, But it's always good to have hope. I mean, because that's what I hope. I hit the lottery. I hope I get that promotion. I hope my baby, is born healthy. That's what you got. That's all you have in your life. But there's one thing I want to do, man, to dedicate Andy Kaufman. And I'm just curious. Pause. What's that? Your shirt you wearing? Because it gave me some an idea. What shirt are you wearing?
Dad,
does it say?
DAD.
And that's what we're gonna do right now. We're gonna for a tribute to Andy Kaufman. Let's do our best dad joke and see which one of us laughs. If one of us laughs, will they be the best comedian? I go first. Did you hear about the kidnapping at the school?
No.
He's fine. He woke up.
So bad.
Piers.
Oh, I'll let John go.
Okay.
The only one I could think of, and it's terrible, but knock knock.
Who's there?
Orange.
Orange. Who?
Orange, you glad I didn't say banana? Some horrible joke that my son said that the teacher said at school. I have no idea.
Piers.
But I think
What's
I was
the
going to say banana first. I think I screwed that up. But anyway, go.
Go ahead.
Oh, that was all the difference, John.
Damn it,
Okay.
that would have worked if I did it correctly.
What was the name of Michael Jackson's denim store?
Don't know what.
Billie Jean's.
That's bad.
Mm.
I got another one. What do you call a
Uh-huh.
fat fortune teller?
What?
No idea.
Fat fortune? Not just kidding. I don't know. I just threw that out to be stupid.
I
Damn,
got
was about
another
to
one.
steal
For
that
you.
one. I'm like, I remember this.
I got another one. How do you make a hormone?
Don't know how.
Kick her in the.
This is Vince Russo's The Brand.